going on, guys? I get a lot of questions about how I mix and master my tunes that I have on my videos, and I guess I will give it a shot. And this isn't going to be pretty, but I'll give it a try. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. This is we're starting off with my basically my recording file for the last video I did for the 5150 simulator and Pod Farm. So first I get the basics of the song, I write it, I record a scratch track, and then I record the actual track. I have the left guitar, the right guitar, the DI bass, and the affected bass, and I mix those together. So I have just the regular bass. And I have just the DI bass with a modeler. It's like a plug-in basically for it's a SansAmp knockoff with some distortion and some compression. And when you mix those two together, really cuts in the mix. So I center pan my bass. I get the levels just wherever it sounds good. The guitars, left guitar and right guitar, I usually pan about 95 or 96% to their respective direction. I never usually go 100% because the guitars disappear easier in the car if you ever happen to record a track in the car. Not in the car, I don't know what that meant. If you record a track and listen to it in the car, it'll the guitars disappear pretty quickly unless you have them really, really loud. And just bury everything in the guitars, then that won't happen. And if it's a mono mix, they disappear really quickly as well. So I usually go 95, 96%. And then I have these particular ones. They are the children of the parent track, which just has some EQ. Actually, it's not really EQ. It's like it's a high pass filter and low pass filter. I usually set the low pass. I know it says HPF, but it works as a low pass. I don't know why that is. So the high pass is usually set to 45, 45 to 60, sometimes 80 if you're really if your guitar track's really boomy. The highs, I usually chop them off right around 12K to eliminate the fizz and really let the cymbals breathe. This is pretty much the standard Andy Sneap style of doing heavy guitars. This is nothing new. And then you got your drums. Here's all the MIDI hits. For the Superior Drummer plugin, which you can get below in the description. Basically, I just I write the song. I usually write the guitar parts and the drum parts at the same time, which is really time consuming, but it's really the only way I can do it. So you have the left. And you got the right. Both. Add the drums. Really briefly on the drums, I usually always the snare and the kick always center panned. You don't want to go left and right, otherwise it risks being chopped off sonically to your ears with other frequencies, with the guitars, the cymbals. Cymbals I pan. Toms are panned a little bit from left to right, as per my buddy Nick, because he's an actual drummer and I'm not. You can get this preset in the description as well, along with the stems that we'll be doing. So once I render the stems, the actual just the guitars, just the bass, and just the drums, what I do is I take each track. These aren't different tracks. These are the same tracks. So I have my drums, my guitars, my bass, and then this is basically the guitar bus. I take the drum track and I pan it almost 100% left, and I take the same drum track and I pan it almost all the way to the right, about 90% on the drums. I learned this trick from Mastodon actually. They released some stems on Curl the Burl song, and this is how all their stuff was panned. It was all just to get that stereo effect, I guess, even though it's the same, but it thickens everything up a little bit. Guitars usually do 95%, again, 95, 96%. This is the rendered track of both the left and right guitars, panned left, and this is the same left and right guitar track on the right hand side, 95%. Same thing with the bass, but you want it to chop down the center a little bit, so I usually pan that about 75%. And that's about it. This is the master track. This is all of the stems condensed down into one stereo track. When I output and render the stems, I usually render them at about -6 dB. That way, when you get your track into down to just one track, you can then normalize the volume to about -0.5 dB or so. Then I'll still leave a little bit of room for some compression. All I really do is do a stereo compression on the whole track just to even things out, so there's not a bunch of valleys and stabby highs and boomy lows that may have gotten out when you were mixing down. Sometimes the bass frequencies, once you condense them into a master track, they'll get a little flubby. Compression helps. And then I'll do any final EQ. In this case, I didn't do any, because everything was pretty much set with the guitars, and a limiter, and then set to 0.2 of a dB. And usually I'll just I'll crank up the volume. In this case, it's +3 dB, and that's it. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will get to them ASAP. And if I need to make another video explaining anything else, I will.